Welcome back to the Elevate With Us podcast, and I am really humbled and super excited to welcome our guest today. I have known her for almost 4 years, and she is super dedicated, super dynamic, and a go-getter. Her name is Gina, and she is here from That One Painter First Coast. So Gina, tell us a little bit about yourself and really about your business.
Awesome. Thanks for having me today. I'm Gina Schlicksup.
And I'm glad she said it because we practiced and I couldn't do it.
Most people can't. My husband, Tony, and I own That One Painter First Coast, like you said. We have been open almost a year. It will be 1 year, October 12th.
Oh my gosh, it's almost your birthday.
It's almost our birthday. Yeah. And this is kind of our new little legacy we're building for our not-so-little family.
Not so little for sure, because how many kids do you have?
We have 4.
4 kids, if I remember, 2 girls, 2 boys.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Yeah.
16 through 10.
Great personality, super fun, because I've known Gina, like I said, for almost 4 years because we met real estate-wise.
We did.
Yeah, I sold them a house. They were moving here from...
We came from Iowa.
Yep. From Iowa, yeah, and it was fun, right? When it was a trek. We had some good times looking at houses.
We had some great times. I think we probably looked about 30-something houses.
Yeah, because you needed something specific.
We did need something specific, and at that time, it was hard to find, and I would imagine at this time, it would be even harder to find.
Yeah, because now we have historically low inventory. Then we were just moving toward that. Like a lot of the interest rates were so good. People were doing a lot of moving, but we hadn't hit the crazy COVID market yet. And
nope.
I still remember meeting you guys and, what you told your kids. And I just said this to Tony the other day when I saw him, is that you promised your kids each have their own bedroom.
Yep.
You promised them a pool.
Yep.
And you promised them a trampoline.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to move here from Iowa. Like they were leaving friends and family, and they were young. I mean, they were
young, 12 to 6. Yeah.
Right? And so that was hard for them. And you promised them that. And that house that you guys ended up buying, there was a trampoline in the backyard. And I remember telling that listing agent, I do not care what we have to do, but that trampoline isn't leaving. Oh, the sellers want it. I go, no, they don't. They don't want to move it. That'll be so terrible. Like, just leave it and surprise the kids with a new one. And it stayed.
It did stay.
I heard it's still there.
It is still there. But what's funny is that our next door neighbors, they were going to take it for their boys. So then when we got the listing and we were like, no, we need this. So they didn't get it, but their boys can come over and jump on it.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
But it's pretty funny.
It is pretty great. So you guys started a pretty remarkable painting company.
We did.
You've had a lot of success. So because it's a franchise.
It is a franchise.
Yep. I own a franchise. So what started that? Like, at what point were you like, hey, husband, let's quit. Why don't you quit your job and let's start a painting franchise? So what was that journey like for you?
I will say, like, everything for us is totally random. I feel like our whole life is totally random.
Okay.
But, he was in medical sales, which was really difficult through COVID. And there was a lot of restructuring going on not really after COVID, but after all the shutdowns.
Okay.
Because of, obviously, probably fiscally, because people were in and out of the hospital as much. So the business itself changed. So they kind of downsized and restructured territories, and his territory ended up not including anything in Jacksonville and things all the way up to Augusta down to Daytona. So it was like,
so they restructured it and excluded
Jacksonville,
but included Augusta and Daytona?
Yeah. So there's, so somebody
strange.
else worked here and he had seniority, so he got Jacksonville. And we had already done this kind of run around when our kids were really small, where he was on the road all the time, and it stunk then, and it was just not something we wanted to do again.
Got it.
So how this all came to be was one of those little LinkedIn messages. Have you ever received one of those LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I still get them. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, are you interested in franchising? Do you want to learn about it? And I think that one came to his LinkedIn account, and he's like, should we just look into this? And
oh my gosh.
We were like, what the hell? Let's look into it.
Sure, why not?
So we had a franchise consultant.
Okay.
And we worked with him. I want to say that this would have been probably in April or May. So we worked with him you talk and you kind of tell them where your interests lie. Do you want, we did not want a restaurant, right? So they kind of weed out what you're interested in, what you're not interested in.
Because there's probably a franchise for everything.
There is.
I mean, I have no idea, but that's what I'm imagining.
There is. So we were down to 2.
Okay.
After we met with him several times. One, which still sounds really fun, was like a pet gym.
A pet gym?
So you could bring your dog to this place, and it was for training dogs.
Okay.
But they didn't train the dog. They taught you how to train your dog. So it was like all the, run around. But it was so cute because they would have dog birthday parties. And we were like, oh, this sounds like fun. And we were thinking maybe less consumer complaints in a dog gym than in a lot of other areas. We just thought it would be fun.
Sure. And dogs are fun.
Dogs are fun, but the investment on that was a lot higher, and you had to have brick and mortar. And obviously, not everybody would be familiar around here, but if you are, coming by commercial real estate is not easy nor cheap.
I know all about it.
Mm-hmm.
We're in one of my brick and mortars right now, and it's not cheap.
No, they're not cheap, and they're hard to find.
They are.
And that one would have taken us about 10 months to get up and running.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is a long time, and so we decided we wanted something that wouldn't be so long.
Okay.
And my husband has always said, I should just be a painter because I make him paint all the time, and our houses that we live in are ready to move in, never need to be painted houses that have all been painted but one because it was brand new.
And because you guys have moved a bit. It's not like this move from Iowa here was your first move.
Yes, not our only one. We've moved several times. But he's we're not old by any means, but a one-man painting crew in your 40s isn't necessarily super great to take on his body.
Climbing the ladders and up and down, jugging the paint and cleaning all the stuff. I mean, it's a thing.
It's time consuming and probably would have still taken him away from the house a lot more than he would prefer to be away.
Sure.
So we landed on this franchise called That One Painter. It is very new. We're talking, I want to say they're between year 2 and 3 right now. So
oh my gosh.
Very, very new.
So you're one of the first franchisees?
Yep.
No, franchise. Yeah.
Yep,
franchisees.
we're one of the first. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah. We're I think somewhere in maybe the 20s or maybe the teens. I'm not exactly sure where that lands. But we really liked the model, and we liked the franchise concept because they give you the playbook.
Totally. Listen, you're talking to someone that felt the same way about it. So I totally understand that.
Yeah. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. They had been having success. And it's kind of like our corporate office says, if you follow the playbook, you will have success. And that's what we've done. So we haven't really, we've added our own touches to things, but we take their recommendations very seriously and we follow them. And so we've had success with that.
That's great.
So we signed our contract in July. This moved pretty quickly. We signed in July, and we started working on hiring a location manager because we knew we wanted to be a semi-absentee model where it wasn't us in the field all day, every day, because we wanted that opportunity to be with our kids because we homeschool, and we would really like to incorporate travel kind of into the homeschool curriculum.
So let me just ask a couple questions. So when you were trying to figure out a franchise model and the franchise, you had someone helping you with that. They basically said there's different models, and they asked you which. So is there completely owner absent? Is that literally owner absentee or absentee owner?
Yeah, you're totally absent
and you're just the money person.
Yeah, and then you have semi-absentee where that's the middle ground, or
full.
You're in full.
Okay, and they just have them divided up, and you can say, hey, I don't want to be fully absent.
Yeah.
I don't want to be completely, I don't want to be the only person. And that's me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
We just that was our choice from the get-go. And so our plan from the get-go was we needed a location manager day one.
Okay.
When we started. So we officially opened in October, but we started really prepping up for that launch in September.
Okay.
So we all had got on a plane on September 12th. We met our location manager, Brandon, at the airport. Hi, we're going to spend 3-4 days together. Like, we'll really get to know everybody right away.
So you met your first hire for the first time at the airport.
For outside of
training.
interviews. This was our first go around, and
wow, you're gonna get to know each other real good. Like,
yep, his very first day of work was him getting on a plane to Austin with us.
Wow.
Yep. So we went down to Austin. I want to say we were there for like 4 days because they do a pretty intense training. And so we went there all together. And for us, we feel like that was really beneficial because we were all like at the infant baby stage together, and we learned together. So there wasn't really an advantage for anybody. Like, I didn't know more than anybody else. So we've kind of been on this ride together.
And he's still with you.
Yep, he's still with us. And we hired our second location manager, Drew, and he started in June. So we have a little bit of a bigger team now, which lets us kind of step away and do the things that we wanted to do with the business, which was networking and creating relationships with people and getting more involved in the community, because this is still totally new to us. You know, half of the time we've been here it felt like lockdown or not during COVID, right? So it took us a while. We know our neighbors really well, but outside of that, not super great.
Because right out, like, you closed in January and life ended March and April.
I mean, we were on vacation in March. It shut down when we were gone.
So, yeah, I mean, you're like actually just really super getting to know the community because it was, you know, a different lifestyle for us, for all of us here.
Yeah.
So that is so remarkable. I mean, it's such a short period of time to have had so much success, right?
It is.
So we'll talk about some franchise stuff later. I have some questions. But as a painting company, what sets you apart from the other painting companies? I'm not really sure if there's other painting franchises, but there's a lot of other painters out there.
Yeah.
So what makes you better?
There are definitely a lot of painting franchises out there. They're local here too. But I guess for us, we focus on the person. So what we always felt was advantageous to us is that none of us were former painters. Okay. So we understand, we have been trained up to wazoo on all things paint. Like, we understand all that, but we've never been on like the technical professional side of it. And so when we go to do an estimate with a customer, we're less focused on the technicalities of paint and more on like the relationship. Like, why are you painting? What's your goal with this? We take our time to get to know the people that we work with.
Wow, that's so amazing. I don't think I've ever felt like that before with probably any type of contractor. I mean, not painters I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds really amazing.
So, yeah, it is kind of nice. So, you know, some companies will just base everything is off square footage, right? You walk into a house, 2,800 square feet, price per square foot, blah, 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 done.
I see.
And we are more like time and material is basically how we do our estimates, but we sit there with our clients and we listen, and it's not rushed. We have an allotted time for estimates, so we don't run in, run out by, I'll send you something later. So we do that, and I feel like that focus on the relationship, people are a little bit more at ease because if you're painting, you're spending money, right? We all know that you're.
Well, and then let's be honest, I would imagine generally people don't just say, oh, I'm going to paint for fun.
Right.
They're painting for purpose, right? So they either bought a new house and they're renovating. They're selling a house. They've lived in a house for a certain amount of time and they want to update it. So they don't just wake up one morning and say, oh, I think we should get the house painted. It's usually for a specific reason.
Yeah. And those reasons are important because, you know, if I'm painting something because somebody wants to sell, we would be looking at a different opportunity, what we're going to do versus somebody who just moved in, right? They want to make it their own. These people want to neutralize it.
Absolutely.
And go. And I feel like one of the other things we do is we're very honest with people. Sometimes we'll come into an estimate and they'll say, I want my walls, trim, and doors. Well, walls, trim, and doors cost quite a bit of money.
Sure,
it's a lot of work.
A lot of time.
And so there have been many times where our location managers have looked around and they're like, you know, your baseboards just really need to be wiped down and they'll be fine. So we're not trying to sell you something.
Just a little elbow grease. That's all you need, a little elbow grease. And you want to wipe them before we paint them anyway.
Correct. So we kind of encourage people to, do the little things and then don't pay us to do, save your money. Save your money and put it in somewhere else. Like, we're not going to sell you something you don't need.
That speaks volumes for you guys as a company, that's your goal, because people really, really respect that you're not upselling them. You're saying, hey, I don't really think this needs to be done. If I were you, I wouldn't do it. That's pretty great.
I wouldn't spend that money. And then there are times where we're like, you really do need to paint your baseboards because we're going to put this paint on the wall. And then, when it's done, you're supposed to be like, wow, this looks so fresh and it looks so nice. And the only thing you're going to look at is your baseboards.
They're going to be like all dingy and stuff. Interesting.
So, we weigh what needs to be done. If a client has a certain budget and what, their ideas way over their budget, it's like, okay, let's break this into phases, come back and forth. A lot of the times when we do something like that, they always want the same crew back. So we honor that and we schedule things around that. So I think that's one of the big things that makes us different is we actually value the person and the relationship more than we value the business. Like, this is kind of a working circle between them, us, and then our crew. So
yeah, that's amazing. How many crews do you have?
We have 10 that are in our system. Yes. And we frequently work, we're running 6 jobs this week. So we have 5 crews on those 6 jobs because one of them was a front door. And I think that's kind of another thing too that sets us apart is that we don't have small projects are okay. Because we did the home show this weekend and a guy was like, well, I have this addition I'm putting on and it's just this little half wall. He's like, I'm sure that's not a project you probably want. And I said, we go out and paint front doors or we go out and paint shutters. It's not the value. It doesn't have to be a certain amount of money for us to go out there. You don't have a
minimum for a job. You'll do a lot of different things. Okay, so you obviously do interior. You just said that. You obviously do front doors. You said shutters.
Yep.
What else do you do?
So we do, I'm just going to repeat what you said basically. So we do interior, exterior, residential, and commercial.
Okay.
We do cabinets. We do fence and deck staining. We do popcorn ceiling removal. What else do we do? All the things. I can't even think right. I know. This is the one I'm missing. We do masonry flat and lime wash. So that's
probably you're going to have to tell us what that is.
Yes.
I don't know what that means. Masonry means maybe brick. Lime wash sounds like she cleans it, but let's find out.
Yes. So masonry is brick, and it can also be stucco. Like down here in Florida, we live in the land of stucco. So
we do.
We use a product called 𝗨𝗟𝗡. It's out of Italy, and it is a mineral paint.
So that's on the stucco as opposed to
latex. So you can put this mineral paint on there.
I don't know what I had done.
Probably latex paint.
Is it it says it stretches or something?
Well, you have elastomeric too.
I had that one.
You had that one. So there's all sorts of different ways you can do things. Everybody has their own preference. That's fine. But the masonry we do primarily on brick.
Okay.
So latex will trap moisture inside of your brick, whereas a mineral paint will let it breathe. And so you're not getting bubbles and stuff underneath.
We have a lot of moisture in Florida, so I would imagine that's
we do.
Big problem that it would be nice for it to breathe.
Yeah,
and bubbles sound ugly.
Yeah, bubbles aren't fun. But a lot of people want to take their brick, their red or their brown, and they want it to be white or like something brighter. It's, times change. But we have found that people are extremely opinionated about brick painting.
Interesting.
Extremely.
You're smiling. I'm sure you've heard some really colorful things.
We have. So we,
Please share.
We run ads digitally on, Facebook, Instagram.
Oh, I love your ads.
Yeah.
They're so pretty.
They're on there, but the brick ad brings nationwide the most comments.
Like drama?
Big time drama.
Oh, fun.
And it'll be like, I can't believe you would do that. You're monsters. And just all these
because you're painting.
Because we're painting the brick.
Like the brick natural red. You have the audacity to listen to a homeowner and paint it white.
And paint what they would like.
What's wrong with you?
No. But it is actually kind of comical to read the comments underneath. And
yeah.
Eventually other people, people read comments. They might not even comment on the post or like it, but they want to see what's in the comment section.
It's very entertaining.
It's entertaining.
I like that too.
Yeah. So there'll be people who, who will hop in and be like, why do you care? It's not your house.
It's so fun. What you're talking about, I mean, I don't comment on things, but like there's a lot of Facebook groups like this for real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're really trying to get advice on things. And, oh man, the comments are so good. Like, I mean, so I can only imagine what these are like.
They're very entertaining. We get lots of comments on things, but we like the masonry flat if you want that updated look. We're kind of trending right now in like a lighter body and a darker soffit fascia.
Oh, my neighbor just did that.
Mm-hmm. And
white and black.
Yep, that's quite the big thing right now. Or like a really dark brown on your soffits. Like there's obviously different variations of color, but that is one thing, and it looks really sharp with that on a brick house. Honestly,
yeah, the contrast is delightful. Like contrast is really nice. It makes it pop.
Yeah, and I feel like, okay, yes, you have a brick house, you bought a brick house, you wanted a brick house, but people who buy stucco house generally don't repaint it the same color.
Right.
After a certain amount of time, you're tired of the way it looks.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's the same way with brick. Like if you love it, great, leave it. But if you're kind of like, oh, I'd like change, then change it. It's not the end of the world if you
just change it again. Not a problem. Not a problem.
And then the lime wash is a product that you put on and then you spray off. So it gives it that antique-y look. So you're going to have a lot of white, but there's going to be a variance in it. It's not just going to be a solid.
It's not cleaning it.
No.
Not like it's actually a treatment, like a color treatment.
So you can put it
That's
on.
cool.
And then some people want a lot of variance where you're really wiping down a lot of it, and others just want a little bit.
Okay.
So you're spraying and wiping off, just little portions of here's a brick, here's a brick, here's a brick, whatever.
Oh, neat.
So it's kind of more of an artistic finish. So people have chosen to do that. And then
sounds amazing.
Some people also like to do their products indoors, like their paint. It's just different texture. It just looks different than your paint you pick up at Sherwin-Williams.
Got it.
It's kind of fun. I mean, if you want to get creative, check it out. It's on Roma Bio, and we didn't know anything about it before we started our company, but it's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. That sounds really neat. So what's the turnaround time? Like, let's pretend I decided I wanted to paint my stucco house. What do I do, and when would I expect to be contacted? Like, am I waiting 30 days to have my house painted or whatever? What does that look like for a customer?
So for us, we schedule our estimates. We go out, give you your estimate, spend about half an hour. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's less. Just depends on, what the person needs. You should get your estimate back either that night or the next day. So it's going to come back in 24 hours or less.
Okay, and they get it in like an email?
Yep, email and a text. And our estimates are super detailed. So you're not going to get like an estimate that
painting $1 million. It doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. We run into that sometimes where, it'll be so-and-so was a lot cheaper than you. And we're like, okay, can we see the estimate so we can compare and see, if we can move?
Sure.
Well, they didn't really give me one. They just gave me a number.
They didn't even get anything in writing?
No.
They just got like, this will cost $1,000.
Yeah, and like
whatever.
a text message.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Professional. And other places will give you an estimate, but it might be pretty generic. Where our estimates are going to tell you what we're going to do. It's going to tell you the process. We're going to write in the scope of work and give you an interior example, right? Like we're going to do ceilings, walls, doors, and trim.
Okay.
And it'll be like exclusions might be kitchen cabinets, or like we're going to say, this is what you're painting. We're going to say, this is what you're not painting.
Okay.
So it's very clear to our painters what they are supposed to do, because it can get confusing. And I always feel like things get lost in translation sometimes too. Obviously, a lot of our crews speak Spanish. They speak another language. We have people from all over the world who come here, and a lot of them are in trades. So we try to keep the stuff as simple as possible.
When you paint pretty much everything on the inside of a house is the option, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not painting floors, I'm assuming, but you...
No, we're not painting. Well, we can, but we won't.
Pretty much everything. So I can understand that it's important to say, paint this, not that.
Right. Yeah. And or like even they just want their walls painted, but they want their walls painted in the front entryway, an office, and a living room. Well, then we would list, do not paint kitchen, blah, blah, blah.
Right. No, I love it. It's
So
great.
there's just no confusion.
Yeah.
And then we'll put what type of paint we're using, what brand of paint we're using, you know, the sheen, the color, all that stuff is in your estimate. So you're going to know exactly what you're going to get. And we're not going to say we're going to paint with something that's more expensive and then make it look like we're painting with something that's more expensive, but we've actually poured something different into the can.
Wonderful.
That happens sometimes too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, we live in a crazy world. Stay tuned for part 2 of this Elevate with Us podcast.